Good morning, students. Today we will discuss about what are the different types of models that are involved in software development life cycle. There are different types of software developing models in life cycle. Those are waterfall model, V-shaped model, evolutionary prototyping model, spiral model, iterative and incremental model, agile development model, and RAD model. Right. We'll discuss one by one. First of all, we'll discuss about the waterfall model. The waterfall model was the first process model to be introduced. It is very simple to understand and use. So among all these models, the first process model that are used is the waterfall model. It is very simple to understand and use. In waterfall model, each phase must be completed before the next phase can be begin, and there is no overlapping in this phase. Because in waterfall model, each phase, each step can be completed before the next step can begin. Once the first step is completed, then the next step is starting. Without completing the previous step, next step should not be begin, so that there is no overlapping of the phases. The waterfall model is the earliest SDLC approach that was used for software development. And another point, the waterfall model is a sequential design process in which the progress is seen as flowing steadily downwards through the phases. It is a sequential model. That means each phase can be done sequentially one by one. And it looks like the flowing like water steadily downwards through the phases, like initiation, analysis, design, construction, testing, implementation, and maintenance. See, this is the diagram for the waterfall model, which is followed by the different phases. First one is requirement analysis, system design, implementation, testing, deployment, and maintenance. Right. Now we are discussed about each and every phase one by one, starting with the requirement analysis. The requirements phase, the first phase involves understanding what needs to design and what its function and purpose, etc. Here, the requirement phase, this is the first phase, which is used for understanding the requirements of the customer. We have to gather the clear requirements from the customer. Basically, after understanding the needs, we can design and what we can understand what its purpose and function, etc. Here, the specifications of the input and output or the final product are studied and then marked in the requirements model. Then go for the second one, that is system design. The requirement specifications from the first phase are studied in this phase and system design is prepared. Whatever the requirements that are collected in the first phase, those requirement specifications are carried from the first phase to the second phase. The first phase are studied here and then the system design is prepared. Once the system, before starting the system design, we have to understand the requirements very clear. Then only we can prepare the design in the good format. So system design helps in specifying the hardware and system requirements and also helps in overall system architecture. We have to prepare the system design. Why do we use the system design? It helps in specifying the different what is the hardware that are required and what system requirements, and also it helps the overall the system architecture. Right. This software code to be written in the next phase is created now. That is the purpose of system design. Next, go to the next phase, that is called as implementation phase. In implementation phase, with the inputs from the system design, the system is first developed in small programs called units. The output of the previous phase can be considered as the input in the implementation phase. Right. The system is first developed in small programs called units. Already we discussed the breakdown structure means we can break down the project into small modules, and these modules are further divided into units. We can develop, we can implement the units first, and after that integrate all the units in the next phase. Here in this implementation phase, once after implementation of individual unit, Each unit can be tested for its functionality, whether the functionality of that particular unit is working properly or not, which is called as unit testing, right? Once after performing unit testing, it will be move on to the next phase, that is called as integration and testing phase. All the units that are developed in the implementation phase, right, are carried into this testing phase. After that, integrating all the units into a particular system. After testing of each unit, the software design needs to go through the constant software testing. Here in this testing phase, whatever the units that are sent from the implementation phase to testing phase, all those units are combined or integrated into a particular system, and we have to perform different types of testing on that particular system in order to find out if there are any flaws or errors are there in the system or not. The testing is done so that the client does not face any problem during the installation of the software. What is the purpose of doing testing? To identify the flaws and errors and risk. If any errors or risks are identified, we can rectify them before giving delivery to the client. Otherwise, after the installation of the software, the client can face some problems, right? So that before deliver the project to the client, we have to perform different types of testing to make sure that the project should not have any errors, right? Next point, deployment. Deployment means we have to install the system into where the client's environment. Once after the functional and non-functional testing is done, what do we do in the previous phase, that is testing? We can perform different types of testing like functional and non-functional testing. Once the functional and non-functional testings are over, the product is installed in the client environment or released into the market. That is called as deployment of the system. After that, maintenance. This step occurs after installation and involves making modifications to the system or any individual component to alter attributes or improve performance. Here, maintenance means once after the installation of the software into the client's environment, if any modifications to the system or any problems occurs, from the company side, we have to give our support and maintenance, right, for improved performance, right. These modifications are raised either due to the change request by the customer in the middle of the project or the defects that are uncovered during the live use of the system. Why these problems are raised after installation? There may be two reasons. These problems may arise due to the changes initiated by the customer in the middle of the project, or at the time of testing, if some defects or errors are not covered completely, that's why it may arises the problems after the deployment. The client is provided with regular maintenance and support for the developed software, so that the client definitely should provide maintenance and the support for this software. And next one is we have discussed about the advantages of waterfall model. This model is simple to implement and also the number of resources that are required for its minimum. Right, already we discussed that the waterfall model is the simple model which is very simple to understand and use. The requirements are simple and explicitly declared. They remain unchanged during the entire project. Here, the requirements are the simple, and the whatever the values that are assigned, those values should not be remained, should not be changed during the entire project development. The start and end points for each phase is fixed. It should not be changed. The release date for the complete product as well as its final cost can be determined before the development. Here, by using this waterfall model, we can determine the release date before the complete product, for the complete product, and also we can determine the final cost of the project before the development itself. It gives easy to control and clarity for the customer to due to strict reporting system, right? All these are the advantages of waterfall model. And next we discussed about disadvantages of waterfall model. In this model, the risk factor is higher, so this model is not suitable for more significant and complex projects. Here in waterfall model, the risk factor is very high, so that of course this waterfall model is easy and understandable and make easy to use. Still, the risk factor is high in the waterfall model, so that it is not suitable for complex projects. This model cannot accept the changes in the requirements during development. This waterfall model should not accept the changes in the middle of the development. If any requirements change is there, it should be done at the initial stage only. At the middle of the project, if customer is asking for any new changes, it should not be happen in this waterfall model. That is the drawback. It becomes tough to go back to the phase. For example, if the application has now shifted to the coding phase and there is a change in the requirement, it becomes tough to go back and change it. Suppose we can move on to the coding phase, that is implementation phase, right? After moving to the entering in the coding phase, if the customer is asking to make some changes in the requirements, it becomes very difficult to go back and change the requirements. Since the testing done at the later stage, it does not allow identifying the challenges and risk in the earlier phases. So due to these problems, it does not allow the identifying the risk in the earlier phases, because we are unable to go back to the earlier phase. That's why we are unable to identify the risk in the earlier phase. So the risk reduction strategy is difficult to prepare. So these are the disadvantages of waterfall model. Okay, this is about waterfall model. Thank you. We will discuss the next model in the next session. Okay.